Hey folks, Dante here. I wanted to make another video on the same day as the last one, just so that I didn't forget anything, because I did test out some of the additional features over the day today, including the notification stuff that I wanted to test, and I have some information about that. So I'll start with that, and then, like the title says, I'm going to talk about navigation also because I did use that today. So, about the notification stuff. So I still continue to get duplicate notifications and some additional information. So the duplicate notifications seem to be specifically my Gmail account, my personal Gmail account. So basically, if I get an email from that Gmail account, it will appear twice in the notifications that I'll have to scroll through. So it doesn't seem to happen on any other notifications as far as I can tell. But I'm trying to keep track of all the notifications through the device. So that's a thing again. Like, I don't know why it's causing specifically Gmail to happen twice, but that's what's going on there. So that's the first thing I recognize. And then, if you remember from the original video, I was reporting that my Slack notifications, the ones that were like really big, like there was like a at least 3 lines long worth of a message, I would not be able to read those. They would come in and out of the glasses as I was attempting to read that notification. And it seems like that, and that happened again tonight. It seems like it only happens if I have, a number of notifications that I have to scroll through, and it happens to be the first one in the list or the most recent one in the list that comes up. Because in that particular instance, for whatever reason, a large Slack notification as the first one seems to um, like show up for like a second and then disappear. That's what happened again, like tonight. And I'm, again, assuming that that's just the order of operations there being a large one, because the last one I was trying to read was also large. And then it being the first one was also a quality of this, thing that I was checking out. So, all that being said, there's that. Okay, let's talk about Navigate Beta. So I used Navigate twice today, both times going to places that I knew how to get to, and I did my best to try to follow the route that they were going to give me. So I think I mentioned in the previous video that the way that Navigate works is that it's like a two-screen thing where there's one screen or one display that you'll see when you're looking straight on, and another one that you'll see when you look up. So the one that you're seeing when you look straight on is basically your like turn-by-turn navigation. So it's going to have, the left-hand side, it'll say which turn you're about to be making, like left or right, and then on the right-hand side is a smaller map that's more local to about, what you're about to do next. So if you're going to continue straight, it'll be straight. If you're going to make a right, you'll make a right. So all of that is like in that smaller map there. There's a couple of other little data points that are around there, talking about, the amount of time that it's going to take to complete the trip, etc. If you look up, you get a much larger view of basically the entire route. So you'll see the overhead view of like start to finish of what that's going to look like. And again, a little metadata about that as well. So about this, what I noticed and now this is me walking in Manhattan, New York City, where the streets is a grid. It's not anything kind of crazy, and it's meant to be walkable. So let's just keep that in mind. I was walking from Penn Station to Koreatown, which for you folks who don't know New York City, that's basically a straight shot for the most part. There's a little turn to get to 32nd Street from 34th, but it's more or less a straight shot. And what I noticed in the turn by turn is that it wouldn't say any street names. It would just say, excuse me, it would just say turn right onto the walkway, or turn left onto the walkway, or continue going straight or whatever. It'll be on the left, something like that. So there really wasn't any like street names in there, and I don't necessarily know if that was particularly intentional, or at least at that time I didn't realize if it was or not. Again, it's just showing me directions and which way to go and things like that, which, like I said, is pretty cool, but I will also say at the time, still light out, so I really couldn't see it. I didn't bring my extra little, doodads because again, I don't know where to put them. So I was kind of like looking at darker color objects to figure out what was going on in my glasses. Um, but in terms of the navigation, it did a pretty good job. It basically, um, from where I started the navigation to where I was going, it worked. The one other thing that I'll mention in me actually putting in the address for this particular place is I tried to search for it by name. And when I search for it by name, I get a lot of results that weren't the right thing that I was looking for. And the name is fairly unique. So I was a little weird that I couldn't just search for it by name um, in the interface on the phone. But when you search by address, it was very clear about okay, this is the address you're going to go for. So my expectation is that you probably want to be putting in addresses as opposed to locations. My assumption is just like look up the address in Google Maps and then take that address and put it into the app. I know it's like a two-step process, and maybe the app will be better eventually to find real places or use the Maps API directly. If it is, I don't know if it is or not. But like I said, the places that came up, um, none of them in the list of I guess 8 or 9 that was up there initially was the place that I was going to. But like I said, address right spot on. So that was the first time, and I was, fairly content with that experience. The second time I used it to go basically back to the train station. I was going to Grand Central to go back home in this particular case. So um, I turned it on then, and this is when things got a little um, less good, I'll say. So basically, what was happening is that as we were walking, basically we were walking from more or less 32nd Street all the way up to 47th actually to get the train. And it's more or less a straight shot. We were basically taking Madison the whole way up. But in order to do that, I need to stop at intersections because I actually have to do a lot of lights where we couldn't cross. So it was me at an intersection, like waiting to cross the street to continue my walk. And these are short blocks. We're talking from 40 to 41st Street and 41st Street to 42nd Street. Short blocks. It's not really a long distance that I'm walking to get to the next block to, unfortunately, potentially stop before I can continue going. Okay. Basically, every single time that I stopped, the app would recalculate my navigation. And I don't know if that was because I was turning my head or my body that was then confusing what direction I was going again, something of that nature. I'm not sure what that was. I guess it's a little weird to me, or maybe it's too sensitive right now because my expectation is that I don't think the map should recalculate unless I'm significantly off track, right? If I'm just standing still, I definitely shouldn't get any recalculation, right? I should just get what I currently have right now, and only until I'm significantly off that path should it ever consider recalculating. So that's one of the things that was like weird to me, especially since, as well, I would imagine, when you are stopped, that's probably the most opportune time to like take a look at the map. And if the map's not there because it's recalculating, that's bad news, right? So that was a little annoying. The second thing I noticed, which was after I actually got to the train and heading home, I saw on my dashboard, which I actually never noticed before up until just tonight, is that there is a battery indicator for the glasses in here, and it happens to be should be at the notification. It's not even coming up here. Oh, I put silent on. Sorry, I was driving back home, so I put it on silent, which is another thing I'll talk about. But yeah, so next to the notifications icon, there's the battery indicator, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty low." And I wore these glasses all day yesterday in a similar fashion. It wasn't so much more different. Um, so I was like, "Why is the battery so low?" So the battery, if you remember from earlier this morning's video, the battery tapped out being charged overnight properly at around 80 something percent. Okay. The battery right now, with the full day's worth of use, and I'm about to put in the charger, is now at 11%. Okay. Now, I think that might be attributed to the navigation. And I say that because when you use the glasses, throughout the day, just kind of like looking at a dashboard, the dashboard isn't always in your peripheral, right? When I'm looking down like this, dashboard's gone. It's not using any battery to show the screen because there's nothing there, right? So it's conserving energy. And only when I look up does it show the dashboard, and then I would be done, for a minute. I'll go back to work, looking on my phone, looking down clearly. So all of that is, conserving battery. And I think last night I was probably at around like 30 something percent when I got back home. I put it in the charger. The fact that it's at 11% now is interesting because my assumption is that it is the Navigate um, experience. And I say that because there's two screens, right? There's the one that's, you're seeing the turn by turn, and then the full map screen. And they're both always on, right? When you're doing navigation, you're always seeing the navigation, right? So those screens will always be on, even if you're not actively looking at those screens or even like going up and down like this. Those screens will be on, or the device will show it on. So I'm assuming that when you use this navigate feature, that you're going to be using a lot more of the battery of the device than you would be normally, right? Especially if you're just going to go ahead and tap to see notifications and then they go away, do a quick note for 30 seconds and that goes away, or listen for the AI, and then that goes away. So all that stuff that just kind of like goes away, after being used, I think is going to obviously preserve a lot of the battery life. But the thing like navigate, and I'm assuming translate, because they're on for as long as they're on, will probably, if this is accurate, reduce the battery a little bit faster because the screens are always on for those applications. Um, so something to consider in this whole thing. Now that reminded me of an idea that I was talking about with the dashboard situation that has this whole right hand screen that I'm personally not using. I'm wondering if that would be a really good place to, like I said, customize such that I could put turn navigation in my eyeglasses, and I could look up and see on the right side the turn by turn navigation when I needed to see it. Right, I think that would be really good, or just have an option, maybe using just for the navigation portion of it, such that it reduces the battery consumption, so that it's not always on. Because maybe I don't need it to be always on. Maybe I'm walking straight for a few minutes, and I don't need to be seeing the turn, or especially, which is some of the other thing that I forgot to mention the navigation part. Um, During the navigation of my second, uses of this thing, it actually did say Madison Avenue, turn onto Madison Avenue in the screen. So I was like, that's interesting because in other places where I was like on Broadway, in the first way I was walking, like Broadway is a street that's also really popular. People know about Broadway. Why is that not being picked up in here? So it was interesting that it said Madison, but it didn't say any of the streets that I was supposed to turn on. Um, but yeah, the idea that I would have had is, again, for an option of navigate or to customize the dashboard is to say, okay, only when I look up do I want my navigation to be shown. Because again, if that's the case, then it will reduce, the battery life or the battery consumption. And I think a similar thing would be really helpful, admittedly, for the translation piece, right? Because I haven't been able to test this properly yet. I'm looking forward to doing so. But my expectation from me using this is I would be at a table with my in-laws who all speak Chinese, and I would only really want to see what's being said when Chinese is being said, you know, and not if it's not being said. If everyone's speaking English at the table, because almost everyone does have the ability to speak English, I don't want to, necessarily see English in my lenses. And I think it's okay for it to be running in the background, like in terms of like, and then be able to see the the results when I need to see them. But yeah, I think there's some improvements there. Again, firmware probably related, software related, that make it so that the screen isn't always on for for any of the apps, right? And again, I'm also like hypothesizing that this is the reason why the battery is so low at the moment. I don't really know for sure. It could be, some other usage that I had today that was different, but yeah, those are the updates. Last update, I guess I'll mention is in the last video today, someone was asking about AI features, and I haven't really used the AI past literally what you've seen in the video last time. I can look at some, things about that, but also in the Reddit thread, people are asking, "Oh, it's like an adult R1," which someone picked up that I have an R1 in the back, and in fact, yeah, it's sitting over there. And they were asking about the strawberry test that I did in the last video. And guess what? The R1 thinks there's only two R's in strawberry. So we already knew that, right? I mean, look, we're now going to be all even fanboys and girls and fan people because the even AI is topping out all of them by immediately guessing three R's. I guess. I mean, like, obviously we're winning here. So that's a good start. I guess in the comments, if there's anything that you want to have me ask the AI, because I really don't know. I don't really use AI honestly all that often. I'm a software engineer, but I actually code myself. I know it's crazy. I'm old school, I guess, that way. But if there's anything that you want me to ask the AI that I could do in another video, I'll ask it, because I really don't know what to ask and what to test in terms of limitations. I did see the strawberry thing on the internet. I thought that was an interesting thing to try. But if there's anything that you want me to ask, go ahead and put it in the comments. I'll also take a look at what's going on the Reddit a little bit. And also, thanks for everybody else again reaching out and enjoying the videos. It's funny that I'm getting all this traction on this stuff and not a lot of traction on the other stuff that I've made over the past 15 years on YouTube, at least, and maybe even more, which is crazy. But anyway, thanks for enjoying, and I'll see you in the next one, whenever that is.